Get started. This public meeting of the Board of Commissioners is now in session. I don't know if you can hear me or not back there in the back. I'm not sure exactly how well these microphones are working, so we'll try to speak up here a little bit.
I'm going to ask if everybody can hear me.
Is this better?
Do you have anything down there that you're pushing through?
No, like it's an all comes through here, without little speaking to. Yeah, I mean, like, is this. What's just the thing? Same setup.
Because you.
Yeah. Yeah, they just plug in right there, they just basically.
Speak up. Yeah, that's down there.
Something like.
They do, they just.
Oh, this, yeah, it's the art piece, or it's a.
What's actually that?
Yeah, because we use this, so.
Here.
Oh, yes, that's, you got all kind of power and stuff.
Okay.
Great time. Oh.
Let's look at attention. So unfortunately, this is probably the best that we're to do, so I'll try to speak up and talk right into the mic. Commissioners meet officially in session. All three commissioners are present. Stewart, President of the Commissioners. To my right is Commissioner Mark Barzley, and to my left is Commissioner Steve Wright. To start out with prayer, is our flag. I was concerned that we couldn't sing Pledge of Allegiance, so I'm the best I can. I can't shout. I'm sorry. So. At this time, Commissioner Barzley will lead us in prayer, and Commissioner Wright will lead us in the stand of Pledge of Allegiance. Father God, to the prayer. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, as we come together to listen and to pray that you will guide the entire workings of our families, of our communities, and this community. We pray for your blessing tonight, and we thank you for your love and direction. We pray in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for that time. Thank you, Sherman.
It's where you're coming out.
Very familiar.
Where you turn that down. Yellows. Okay, Ron, you want to talk to him?
Hello, is that any better?
Where? That's.
It's just.
Good.
I think I should. Yeah. Sort of 2, 3, 4. 2 up here, 2 up here. You know each side. Yeah.
It's just a minute of votes.
Yeah, that's what she was. Yeah, we always say, yeah, right here.
So when it comes to that.
Yeah. It's just. Yeah, maybe. For.
Is there anything you can do? Sorry.
That's okay.
Look at that thing.
Yeah.
That should.
It's not even so can or just put it way over. Sorry. It's okay. All right, folks, I apologize. We are going to let's we can. Let's try to talk as loud as I can without shouting. So we are officially in session. I think how the agenda is going to look like tonight is going to be obviously we're going to discuss solar. So tonight, we'll have 25 minutes to come up and address the commissioners. Say anything you want to say, we can ask questions. What do you want to do? So after both solar folks have finished, we will move on to people that are opposed to industrial solar coming to Grant County for 25 minutes. I'm going to monitor both of these times strictly so that we're not here all night. And then after the anti-terror people have spoken, we're going to have about 20 minutes of open discussion. And that would be anybody that hasn't spoken can come to the program. That's also going to give the commissioners an opportunity to address the crowd as well. My role here tonight is to kind of keep the planes in the air and the trains on schedule. Commissioner Larson and Commissioner Wright passed the solar ordinance where I was on, so I know a lot of the questions they'd be directed towards Commissioner Larson and Commissioner Wright. I will answer anything that you folks have. Before we get started, I did want to read a statement here real quick. I want to have some ground rules for tonight's meeting. I want to be very clear on this. I want to put these in certain terms so that there's no misunderstanding later on. I do understand that the celebration here in Grant County is a hot button topic for a lot of people. However, everyone from both sides is to respect civility and common courtesy at all times during this meeting. False allegations or foul language will be tolerated. Tonight's meeting tonight is not a public trial. We're going to answer your questions regarding industrial solar and the solar ordinance. We do want to hear everybody's comments and concerns, those that are soon coming to Grant County and those that are against. I'd like to remind you that you may not always like what you heard tonight. If you disagree, I ask that you do it very respectfully. When one side is speaking, whether that is through or against industrial solar, the other side will allow them to speak with no interruptions or disturbances. This is a type of meeting regarding industrial solar. Like many of you want us to do that at some point. We're in the future we can do that. We will not be discussing the upcoming local election, campaign strategies, or campaign finances, or the jail issue during this meeting. Questions and comments tonight, this is directly related to industrial solar. Like I said tonight, or like I said earlier, I understand that my two colleagues are the main focus of tonight's meeting. My job tonight would be mostly to facilitate the meeting and be square and impartial as I possibly can be while overseeing this meeting. That being said, please know that I will not tolerate any deviations from the rules that I stated above. I do not want this turning into a circus, and I do not want this turning into a free-for-all. I just want to make this perfectly clear. I would recess the meeting if it gets to that point. So I just want to put that out there. I want to make sure that there's no misunderstandings in that. So with that being said, I will invite anybody that's no sooner to approach the podium. Excuse me. State your name and address and 25 minutes.
I brought Sandy up here because I'm macular degeneration. You can't see can't really see at all. And so I dictated my thoughts to her and she's going to read them off. So,
And Mr. Weaver, I think we all know who you are, but if you could just for the record state your name and address.
I'm sorry, Joseph Weaver, Swayze, Indiana.
Thank you.
This is Sandy. Hi.
Hi there.
I'd like to start out saying thank you, Ron Stewart, for organizing this event this evening. Gratitude as well to the county commissioners, the APC, and some candidates for attending. Solar panels produce clean 365 days in year. Almost every day we are able to harvest sunlight to create electricity. Crops harvest only comes once a year. Think solar and sunlight as a crop, we can have the most plentiful world. In addition to that, solar panels don't use pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, no carbon dioxide. That was it maintains the ozone layer in other ways. The fiscally responsible choice. The solar farms in Gas City provide the town with $200,000 in tax money according to Bloomberg. That is only 8 acres of solar panels. Think of the potential tax revenue of acres. What to consider is that Gas City's farms have a 45-foot setback compared to the 300 the rest of Wayne County or the 250 recommended by the state. During construction, those solar farms will create approximately 300 jobs. After construction, there will be about 15 jobs created for industrial solar field. Job creation is always a hot topic. How can we say no to almost 350 jobs coming to our county? Are solar panels harmful to your health? According to the National Institute of Health, more so than many common household items we deal with or handle every day. Cadmium and lead are the two main substances of concern. Cadmium is found in solar panels in trace amounts and being reduced each year as improvements are made. More cadmium is found in batteries and stock organs than the solar panel. There is over 700 times more lead in a car battery than there is a solar panel. There's a company to be received that will refurbishing batteries containing highly corrosive, flammable, and toxic materials. If we can't trust the solar companies to be good stewards of our land as promised, how can we trust any company to do what is right? This has become less about solar and more about election. This has been cast for almost 2 years, mostly because of this election year. Currently have 2 county commissioners up for election. One election that are open instead focused on progress and the good of the county. There brought those qualities to this issue, and I trust in their choices and actions here. not just their last names. But these commissioners are giving this ordinance is a choice of what to do with my land, a choice for you with your land. So on your land, don't sign in. It's as simple as that. You're supposed to be free, but you're not letting me have freedom with my land. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
So we're allowed to talk about the election or? Okay.
Anybody else?
Hearing. Appreciate you guys listening. My name is Billy Cree. My address is 6724 North 75 East Union. I have land in Benton County and part of the Explorer project. So it's
Please put your last name.
REIH. We have land that's the solar project on farmland. This amazes me. The federal government has 24.8 acres conservation reserve. That's agricultural ground. That's not tillage because your government chooses to idle that ground, which is probably a good thing because we have surplus of crops. 14 billion bushels of corn this year, and 2 billion of it's going to be carrying. So we have more than ample corn and the sales that we have in this country, plus the price of those crops is terrible. And, it's a secret to anyone. 2 years ago, the price of corn was $7.50 a bushel. It's $4.05 a bushel now. The carryover excess crops that we have, we've got to find something to make this ground productive. And obviously, solar seems like a good solution to me. One of the things that helped me decide to sign up for the program was a Ukrainian war. But natural gas led in Ukrainian war. So natural gas is $1.80 per Ukrainian war went to $9. 40% of electricity is driven by natural gas. Can you imagine what your electric bills would be if that would have stayed there? And Ukraine, just a little tiny world of man. Imagine what would happen if Russia, if somebody escalated. Iran, the gas prices, gas is going up. What really, whether it was the right thing to do. And as we continue to move towards more renewables, there's only of the corn crop that's used for ethanol, and the rest of the consumption. So we're going to do nothing increase carryovers in the corn crops. So we'll go to, so what, 10% in the next, I forget what, by 2030 is going to be electric vehicles. But all we charge those, say electricity from is just as good as so we mix it with less to social economic events around the rest of the world. One of the things that Mr. Rubin mentioned was the tax rate. The tax, the commissioners understand, and hired a consultant, a lobbyist, I'm sorry, lobbyist.
Sir, does that have to do anything with solar?
Because it was after raising the cost of the property tax on land. So they were lobbying to have the flexibility to increase the property taxes down from 2% to 5%. And if every farmer should just trade with that 5%. Can you imagine what your tax rates? Every citizen that in this town should just be aware of that. The other option is to actually increase our tax base, which Silver will do that by a huge amount. So there's, I think you said 5 million of projects in the solar projects coming in the next year. It would obviously increase the tax rate in this county substantially and give us an option to not have to raise the property taxes in this county. So, you know, it's, there's, I appreciate everyone's.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.
Great.
Sorry.
Hi there.
Hello.
My name is Kathy Ordonez. I live in Marion. Girls, I have fun.
Yes, please.
It's 8:15 near Idaho.
Can you spell your last name?
ORDANZ.
Thank you.
So this is a really important topic because I have family that works farmland and it's important to them. And maybe eventually I'll have farmland. We'll see. Am I the good kid? Who knows? Thank you guys for this tonight. It's such an important issue to so many people, as evidenced by everyone that's turned out. I'm just really concerned with where people are getting their information because I got this flyer in the mail. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but it is a campaign flyer. I'm not going to discuss that. But for those of you who haven't seen it, it says, for Ware Grant County residents, this could be 300 feet from your home. And then has a photo of a solar field in shambles. It's just absolutely wrecked. It is a mess. Then it has a web address that is about half a decade old from where the photo. But it doesn't tell you where the photo is from, and that is Puerto Rico. It's not from the Midwest. It's not really even applicable to us because it is a solar field that was destroyed in a hurricane. It has since been cleaned up, it's been repaired, and it is still in use. The back of the flyer is a block of text full of misinformation and truths. I'm not going to stand up here and debunk all of them for you. Hopefully you're capable of being what is and isn't a legitimate and valid source of information. I am going to touch on a couple things that I think we should be considering. A big concern brought up by those who don't have farmland to contribute to solar projects is the value of their land. The Berkeley National Laboratory found through a study of 1.8 million home sales across 6 states that home prices within a half mile of industrial solar were on average only 5% less than homes that were private owned. I know there are a lot of other smaller studies, but this is the most comprehensive study of its kind that has been done. Another big concern brought up is what will happen when solar companies leave. In the contracts between solar companies and owners and in the county ordinance, there are clauses about decommissioning that all involve bringing the land back to its original state. In addition to that, the ordinance and financial assurance, taking into consideration any salvage or recycling value, and an amount at least equal to said demolition and removal contractor cost estimate, through the use of a bond, letter of credit, or other security acceptable to the Area Plan Commission. This also is required in the ordinance to be updated every 5 years. Most of the concerns that people have can be soothed by reading the ordinance or reading legitimate publications. I'm not sure why all this information is being thrown around when we have access to all of that through the computers we carry around in our pockets. Except that this issue has become less about solar and more about the election, which is unfair to the landowners who have signed up for solar on their ground. Zero.
Thank you. We have about 11 minutes left.
My business card late, so you have my name spelled. I actually live in White County, where first counties in Indiana, the second program, and we also have solar. We have 7 phases of wind. We have one solar project in operation and 2 under construction at this time. I work for the Center for Infrastructure and Economic Development. We are a national organization. I am the National Policy Advisor stationed here in Indiana, just focused on Indiana. And our goal is not to come in and tell you what you should or shouldn't do. We're here to give you a range of reasonable, so you can develop your balanced policies. We a lot of times will review ordinances for communities and give feedback to the commissioners or the area plan commissioner who's ever asked us. You know, what we see in the ordinance, what we see as balanced policy, what we see maybe on the a little shy or a little, too deep. And so we offer our services to you for that. And again, I'll leave my card with you. It's mentioned about land on the rights. I think that's very important. Many times, you know, we talk about land on the rights. We should have the right to sign for a solar project or to not sign if they so choose. If they choose not to sign and there is not a viable mass of project or of land, then it's not going to be a project. But at least you need to afford those individuals who are interested in signing solar that opportunity. It's a business decision. Farms are businesses too, just as every other retail outlet, every other manufacturer that's out there. They are some of our first businesses that were in our communities, and they need to diversify. I have had a farmer tell me that, Connie, if it were not solar leases, I would have left the farm. I now can keep the farm. My kids don't want a farm, but I want to have it for my grandkids. So they're able to hold on to that, have income coming in, and that will after they decommission the site. And as was mentioned, there's a decommissioning bond that assures that it's done properly. A lot of times they talk about ownership of land. Solar leases are just that, leases. They are not the property, and that's very important to remember. When we talk about the actual farmland, there are opportunities to continue farming. Agrivoltaics. Produce doing quite a few studies on what they can grow under the solar panels and around the panels. They have shown that there's actually higher yields on fruits and vegetables grown under the panels because they're not scorched by the sun, and they do retain water better. If they just decide to put pollinator habitat, again, that's a great opportunity for some of our other plants in the area, and also for bees. If they want to raise honeybees, we actually have a project up in East Indiana that is raising honeybees. They're taking the honey to a winery and making honeymead. So there's other business opportunities. Livestock grazing, mainly for sheep, which is good in that area too. Transportation fuel. Today, 43% of our corn crop goes into the ethanol industry here in Indiana. And 6% of our soybeans go into the biodiesel. That is transportation fuel. Solar can be transportation fuel also with the electric vehicles that are coming down the line today. And as we know, assessed valuation increases within a county, generally tax rates go down. It does make a positive impact, not just for those within the solar project area, but for everyone in the county. And there are opportunities for the county to receive other sources of income, such as the economic development payments that they may be able to use for other resources. And I'll use the example in White County. We have our wind farm and solar farm economic development fund. They use $3 million to entice an owner to come in and buy Indiana Beach. Without that incentive, Indiana Beach was a $60 million economic impact in our county. it does make a difference for the county itself to help make them viable. We have over 100 miles of renewable county roads at no cost to the county because of these renewable energy projects. So there are opportunities, and those are some of the things that I want to come in and speak with elected officials about to make sure you're taking advantage of all that might be out there for you. A lot of times they talk about property values. Well, again, I can speak from experience. Wright County's property values have not declined. We have over 60,000 acres under wind and solar. And that's out of a total land mass of 323,000 acres in Wright County. Property values have not declined. I've had realtors tell me houses for sale. And so the county is actually looking to build more houses now. So it is a huge economic opportunity for a lot of complaints about federal subsidies. Coal is the highest recipient of federal subsidies in the United States. And actually agriculture is second and renewables is third. So yes, there are federal subsidies that do go to renewables, but not as much as some of the other opportunities. I'm here available to help answer any questions, and I thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Wait, Connie.
Yes.
We have about 3 minutes left if anybody else would like to speak.
Rosario, the Vice President of Project Development at Genius Solar. Just wanted to say thank you. The last couple of minutes here, just say thank you for having this event. I think it's a positive sign to have dialogue in the county and to seek the truth about all the facts related to solar projects. So I commend you for having this event. I just wanted to make three comments that I would submit to you and to the residents of Grant County. The first is I want to commit again very publicly to be transparent and open and to share the information that we have, that we can share about our project. The process of developing our project. And there's certain information that isn't yet developed, but if we shared it, it would be confusing. It's like a drug, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to bang on the door of Eli Lilly and demand that they give you the recipe for the cancer drug before it's fully vetted, before they're certain enough of the factors related to that drug or that product before it's ready. Development. We don't have a project yet that we can bring to you all. But we have a lot of other information, and I provided my contact information to folks here, and I'm willing to provide my information to anyone else that's seeking information. But I received exactly 0 calls back to those offers to share information, to sit down, to have dialogue. So I would just say this again to the public in Grant County. I think it's important to look at all the sides of an issue. If our project comes to Grant County, there's maybe dollars of contribution to the taxes that are otherwise paid by citizens of Grant County. Everyone in Grant County is a stakeholder. I would invite you to reach out to me or to one of my colleagues if there are any questions. The goal is to seek the facts about the project and then make an informed judgment. The second point that I wanted to make is...
You have about a minute and a half, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Second point I wanted to make is why a solar project? Why solar? Why now? And I would submit to you that it's because it's the most reliable path that we have as part of, and all of the above, just part of the continued operation of coal plants, gas plants, nuclear, all of the above. The previous job, I worked at a gas utility, and I worked for about 10 years on resource planning. And I can tell you that every utility is headed in this direction. The world is headed in this direction. But the value is there for the taking in Grant County, for the citizens of Grant County. The policies may be set somewhere else, but the value is there for the taking by this county. And finally, I just want to reemphasize some of the points that were already made about property rights. My friend Dallas Street shared with me that he's a combat veteran, and I thank him for his service. And I bet there's plenty of others here who have served in the military. And I too have served in the military. And when I think about returning from my tour overseas, from my time in Iraq, I think about what I came back to, what I discovered when I came back, and still the things that are, you know, the things that stick out in my mind is the reasons why I went. And better American values like individual property rights, like the ability to proposal to you, a legitimate business proposal with significant value for the residents of Grand County through a fair process as one of those bedrock American values. So again, I thank you for the opportunity to say a few words, and I thank you for this event.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. To the that are opposed to industrial solar coming to Grant County. 5 minutes.
Yeah, the scroll was switched out. Like, yeah, that was the best.
This would clear it up when I knew you had your hand raised.
Just want to make sure you stay now. Well, we can make statements.
Yep, yep. Small. This is been. Hello, is that any better? This should take care of it. If I can so.
After you sent that email.
No, that definitely been, yeah, this is what. That's, I was thinking about the other.
It shouldn't have to be. Let's go. Just finish.
You get your full 25. Less than. Hey, you start losing people after this. It's about 5, 6.
It's nothing. I'm back there.
Did she leave the?
Probably end up filing for it still.
How about now? Any better?
I just don't. Hello, can you hear me now?
Just we.
Is that better? I'll try to talk loud. They said a little bit more.
It's about as much as we can push.
Steve says we're about maxed out. Understood. Hey, before I get started, and I'm going to try to be brief, I feel like you guys have seen me a little bit. It's incredibly hard as a professional to get to the 10 a.m. commissioners meetings, but that's another topic for another day. Real quick, can I just ask who in the room, show of hands, is pro solar for attendance purposes? Who's pro solar? Non-residents, I'm sorry, you have to live in Grant County. Great. Now, who in attendance is against industrial solar on farm ground? Thank you. So that's a visual. You two are on record as stating you're responsible for making the decisions of what, 66,000 people? Is that accurate? I think you said that, Mr. Bardsley, at the Chronicle Tribune. And Mr. Wright, you told us that at dinner. Great. So I totally understand you have to look out for the better of 66,000 people. But on this specific issue right now, this many people have showed up to voice their discomfort with your decision, right? And the small number of people that are for your decision have showed up as well. And so both of you have said, I have 66,000 people to look out for. This is just a chunk of us rural citizens that aren't in Gas City or Marion that are showing up, just like we did in December at the APC meeting. Again, because 10 a.m. commissioner meetings are incredibly hard to make as professionals. So that's just a visual I want you guys to see. in the event that you decide you still want to push forward with a solar ordinance and choose not to vote on a complete and total moratorium, kind of like we have on wind and CAFOs, I want to point some things out. We've been compiling some documentation, as you know, on Executive Director Malat and yourselves since 2021. And I have the highlights of those here in my hand. So as a citizen of this county who will be directly impacted by your decisions that you're charged with making in my best interest, not just the citizens of Marion and Gas City, I would like to challenge you to rework this ordinance if it has to be, and do it with the input of the citizens, not from the solar companies like the evidence shows. Draft 3 specifically has direct feedback from Apex Energy, and we have the evidence to show that you guys used it. Now I'm going to use the rest of my time to respond to Mr. Roland Rosario. By the way, Trina Rudabush, Grace Minkies, and Roland Rosario are here from GNX Solar. Trina, you do a pretty good job of showing up to everything. It's just funny that Grace and Roland show up when they feel like they might be challenged on their money-making opportunity here. I want to point out, Mr. Rosario said that their projects are very early. I've got a timeline from your dinner here. And according to your timeline from the landowner exclusive dinner, you're supposed to have a public information meeting in the spring of this year, right about now. And then in the summer of this year, you're supposed to submit your applications for the project. So I don't know how you can say this project is young when you're about to submit the application. Thanks for showing up, though. Again, that was a landowner dinner. And my final challenge would be publicly to challenge GNX Solar into looking into their landowners that want out of their lease and letting them out of that lease without going to court. I'm not going to say any more about it. Just know that I know there's a landowner that wants out, and you're holding them to that. And they cannot speak out publicly against this. So if that's the type of company you want to represent, keep doing it. To the commissioners, I would challenge you to ask yourself why you would want to work or invite companies in Grant County that will not respect the rights and the thoughts and opinions of landowners. That's my challenge to you. Is that who we want to bring in when you talk about economic growth and you talk about growing the county and the communities that we live in? Do you want to be proud of the fact that you're bringing in companies that will not respect the wishes of the landowners that signed these leases that now want out? That's my challenge. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dallas. We've got about 20 minutes left, folks.
I'm Todd Glancy, live outside of Fairmount, outside of Ballerton. No disrespect, but I want to really talk to the crowd a lot, so I'll go back and forth. So, okay. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All right. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and commissioners. Come. Let us reason together. It's from Isaiah 1:12. I stand before you today, not only as a concerned citizen, but as someone who dedicated a significant portion of their life to understanding complex data and long-term implications. My name's Todd Glancy, and I come before you with a plea to safeguard our county's economic future by understanding the facts of industrial solar on our precious agricultural land. I'm no stranger to the importance of progress. However, progress should never come at the expense of our most stable, productive asset, our agricultural economy. Our farms not only sustain individual farmers, but also many other businesses. Every acre of farm ground lost to industrial solar has a ripple effect, negatively impacting these businesses and our entire community. Grant County Solar Ordinance uses the phrase safe and effective. A phrase often tossed around without clear definition. Who defines what is truly safe and effective in the context of industrial solar? It is imperative that we demand transparency, accountability, and a thorough economic impact statement that thoroughly examines the incoming value of solar while balancing it against the negative costs from farmland. So Sorry. Will these solar panels be affected? Now, again, I don't mean to
You're
put my
fine.
back.
You're doing fine, fine. No,
But I'm saying.
talk to them.
Right?
Yeah, you can talk to them.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's consider some hard facts. California, by far, has the most renewable energy in the United States, 2 times more than the next state that's in one. A simple Google search will show anyone that California's electric rate is 2.8 times higher than what we pay here in Indiana. This translates to increased bills for every one of us, a burden that outweighs the rights of the individual landowners. Moreover, let's learn from the experience of others. The University of Michigan conducted studies on the economic impact of solar projects, specifically in Lenawee County. The total positive impact of the state of Michigan for solar is $1.5 billion. That sounds great, and it certainly is worth investigating, right? So that's a lot of money. How could that be bad? No problem. Let's take a look at it. The positive impact touted by proponents does not account for the economic loss caused by the displacement of agricultural land. According to these studies, the solar project for Lenawee County would result in a total economic loss of $38 million and 5 to 7 full-time jobs over that 30-year period. Balancing the gains and losses for massive projects is extremely complicated, hence the reason for an economic impact statement. Lenawee County faced this reality and wisely chose to protect its agricultural integrity. We cannot afford to ignore these lessons. The federal government pushed for renewable energy by 2035, and the state's government of shifting responsibility to the local levels has caused this problem. County governments are ill-equipped to navigate such complex matters. We must question the narrative of safe and effective when it comes to the same entities that have assured us the safety and certain medical interventions. Are you still getting your COVID vaccine that the CDC still tells you to get? In conclusion, I urge each of you to consider the long-term implications of industrial solar on our county's economic well-being. Let's not sacrifice our agricultural heritage for short-term gains. Together, let all of us demand transparency, accountability, and a comprehensive economic impact statement that truly reflects the interests of our community. Thank you very much, and thank you so much, Commissioner, that I just had to come back to this.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Trent Duckle from Van Buren. I wanted to speak about some important data.
What was that again?
My name is Trent Duckle from Van Buren. I wanted to speak about some important data concerning solar panel recycling and how to determine if solar is good for Grant County, when the facts and the data show otherwise. I do understand that the current ordinance requires a bond prior to the permit approval for the decommissioning of the solar fields, but what it does not cover is the recycling costs of the panels themselves at the decommissioning date. These panels are supposed to last 15 to 25 years. In a recent interview with Lighting Resources, currently one of the only companies in the state of Indiana that recycles panels, charges roughly $1.50 a pound. And at each panel weighing between 30 to 50 pounds, this makes each panel between $45 to $75. And with each acre having nearly 2,000 panels, that makes each acre cost between $90,000 to $150,000 to scrap. And again, this does not include just tearing the panels out. This price is current and is bound to increase in the next 15 to 20 years. Currently, Grant County has 6,000 acres of leased ground to solar, making recycling costs nearly $1 billion using the numbers I said above, which is a deficit of $650 million for what solar companies are getting paid for the installation and the cost of the project. So my question is, Does anyone know what an associated cost is to fully remove a panel? Does anyone really know what kind of bond amount is needed to protect our residents and farms from solar fields being decommissioned properly? And how can a solar company afford a bond when it costs more to recycle the panels than what they get paid? I feel like this information is key when determining whether or not a solar is good for Grant County and should be fully vetted before allowing a solar company to build here. This not only protects our residents, the people leasing the ground, but also the future of Grant County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duckwall.
Nolan Holloway, 600 North Marion. Mark Bardsley and Steve Wright like to say that it all comes down to personal property rights. Well, they are missing the point that we have zoning laws in Grant County, and Steve should know this since he spent a year on the Area Planning Commission, which is all about zoning. People should know what zone they are moving into when they buy any property. When you invest in a home, you expect to be protected from an incompatible use such as a bar, racetrack, truck stop, or an industrial solar farm. Mark and Steve would certainly believe this in their neighborhoods. When you buy a home in the country on ag zone land, you expect there to be farming with tractors, combines, farm trucks, etc. You expect a farming activity and you live with that business. You have a right to protection from incompatible uses like solar development in that zone. That is your personal property right. You probably enjoy the view of farm crops and barns and some farm animals that you had for many generations and hope to continue that for many generations. Commissioners Mark Bardsley and Steve Wright have this totally backwards, and their logic is to protect the aggressor in this situation. The commissioners should be protecting the residents from out-of-state industrial solar developers. They appear to be working for the developers and not for the residents who pay their salaries. We simply do not understand. We had zoning laws in this county to protect all of our property values, and we as citizens would like to protect those zoning laws. Why do commissioners not think about protecting our property values? Would they want to live next to this personally? Nobody wants to live next to this. These industrial solar developers have a terrible reputation everywhere they go, no matter what they say. It sounds like freedom to do whatever you want on your land. People resonate with that phrase, but they don't think about what it really means in practice and why we have zoning laws in Grant County. Zoning is not for allowing incompatible uses. Industrial is for industrial, commercial is for commercial, residential is for residential, and agriculture is for agriculture purposes. And homes are expected to be in that zone. Nobody wants to be surrounded by an industrial solar generator. We're asking for common sense and decency when making these decisions for this generation and the next generations to come. This will affect thousands of our residents negatively. Studies have shown that homes within 3 miles of solar farms are impacted negatively, and this has been affirmed by the courts of Indiana. We just really do ask that you take into consideration the generations behind us. They cleared this land and drained it with their bare hands. None of us here have any idea what they went through. And we really need to take that into respect of the previous generation and the generations to come to preserve what we have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Holloway. We have about 9 minutes.
Hi there. Thank you, commissioners, for holding this meeting. I personally want to thank you for doing it. My name is Denise Spooner. I am a licensed real estate broker of nearly 20 years. I currently serve on the Madison County Planning Commission. I've also served a year.
Sorry, what was your last name?
Spooner, S-P-O-O-N-E-R. Recently, Madison County Commissioners signed into law an updated solar ordinance. I'm here to talk to you about property values and the studies and what is truly happening. The lady before testified that White County has no decrease of property values. I want you to understand, just a quick look, there is a Facebook group called White County Citizens of Indiana Against Solar. There's over 1,300 in it. The reason why those studies, so right now, is that they're not being done on this large acreage of amount. All studies right now that are being performed are on much smaller megawatt, much smaller acreage, located in towns and cities. There are not hundreds and hundreds of acres in the ag area. I've got all of them right here. I'm the only real estate broker in the state of Indiana that has done this extensive research. I've consistently sought out this education since 2019. And I'm very well read on this, and my name actually appears in the Indiana Court of Appeals decision 3 times. First, I want to tell you, Title 36.74603 of Indiana Code says that when we develop ordinances, that we must consider several things. Number 4 says the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. Some have considered me an expert and witness because of my name being in the Court of Appeals. I want to read you some of that decision straight from the appellate court. The petitioners had standing to challenge the BZA's approval of the application. Specifically, the trial court concluded that one or more of the petitioners met the statutory requirements to establish standing by participating in the board hearing through various means and being aggrieved by evidence of showing negative impacts to the property values and their quality of life. The BZA there in Pulaski County also stated and concluded that it was undeniable and unavoidable that a significant number of 220 homes within 1 mile of the proposed site would see a decrease in property values. Craig Stevenson from Gasween Real Estate also testified in that hearing, and his name appears in this court decision as well. It's the Court of Appeals said, in addition, real estate broker Spooner, who conducted 6 months of research on the impact of proposed solar farm in Madison County, submitted a report wherein it was concluded that houses surrounded by a solar farm on all 4 sides would be worthless. Houses affected on 2 or 3 sites would suffer up to 40% decrease of value. Houses within 1 mile of a solar farm would suffer a 10 to 30% decrease in value, and houses within 3 miles of a solar farm could suffer up to 10 to 20% loss. And there's another 2 more decisions in the Indiana Appellate Court. 2 more times, remonstrators had standing to appeal court's declaration because they proved with undisputed evidence that they would have a decrease of remonstrators' property values. I mention these court decisions because maybe you're not aware that citizens in Indiana have already proven they have standing and lawsuits are happening. Madison County's planning and commissioners reviewed all of these real estate studies, every single one of them involving solar plants. Did you know the largest solar farm in the Cone-Resnick is 23 megawatts and 160 acres? That's it. And they do not surround homes on more than 1 site. Every single study right now in existence does not surround homes on 2, 3, and 4 sites. They're engulfing homeowners in an industrial power plant. As a real estate professional, I find that very unconscionable. So our attorneys, because of looking all these lawsuits, advised our county to consider a property value guarantee. Also, you need to understand in the Indiana Citizens Planner Guide, this guides planning members and BZA and commissioners. Chapter 3, Avoiding Pitfalls. It says, defines an unfair taking. Takings can generally be defined as seizure of private property or substantial deprivation of right to its free use or enjoyment as a result of government action for which the property owner must be compensated. And in some cases, actions of a plan commission or BZA that have good intentions can be taken to court and determined to be takings, causing numerous problems. Attorney Terry Hall advised Madison County to, this was her quote, given the reported negative valuation effect of the project on adjacent properties as reported by 13 Madison County real estate professionals, the reduction in value of these surrounded properties may give rise to a claim of these property owners against the government of a partial taking under the 5th Amendment to the United States. This is
Ma'am, can I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
So we just have 5 minutes left. Are you going to be much longer? I know that there's
I know
several more
so
people.
much information. I will conclude then. My point in giving you all of this.
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt.
No, I have my whole thing. I made copies for you guys, but my whole point in being here today is to help you understand that you need to put a property value guarantee. The other attorneys for this are saying that it's not enforceable and you can't do it. And we've had 3 attorneys in our county give us that language. Our ordinance is straight shot with property values. It protects you as well because there are lawsuits and it is coming over the property value issue. And not only that, you need to protect the assessed value of these homes in your community because this is your tax revenue to run your county. If we have tons of appeals, which is going to be happening, then you need to protect yourself. I'm giving you all of the real estate studies. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, another one came out that it has 5 more studies that was found that all show decrease of property values. The thing about it with the solar developers, appraisers, they just say it never happens. There is none. 0, 0, 0. And again, those studies on large scale solar with massive amounts of farm ground have not been done. That's the problem.
Thank you. Thank you. 4 minutes left, folks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
This leads to be so 25 years, 30 years, how many in this room will be alive We understand. Where I hear, most of mom, dad, or his dad, grandpa's, and then great grandpa's property. But where I hear, my son would like to grow up and be a part of this farming community, to do his due diligence. We live a half a mile from where I grew up. 80 loads from Miss Beauty farming, where I also would like to follow in footsteps. How much money is it going to take to clean up this mess for solar panels that's not going to do us anything besides give these folks, the county commissioner or whoever it is, the landowner, some money in their pockets right now? And how many people are looking up from long range? Who is going to clean up this freaking mess over some money? That's I don't want, everybody that's pro for this, how many of y'all live out in the country? I mean, I don't want to get up in the morning and look at this. We like watching deer run and the animals, the birds. Not to mention, I mean, what's it going to cost them? Once the lease is up and you got to go and wash your hands up, how much money is it going to cost to clean it up? Anybody got any idea what it's going to cost to clean this up when they're done? $150,000 an acre. 300,000.
Why don't we never answer the question? The basketball, we never answer questions.
Not right now. No, we can do that later. 1 minute left.
Chapman with Eastbrook FFA, is the vice president. Farm ground is needed to produce goods for the communities. Farmers give us supply to our demand. People still go with little or no food every day. So why would we use good farm ground with such bulky systems that do not produce energy every single day, considering weather, or even here in Grant County? We believe that forest can be utilized in better settings like the city. There's plenty of area on top of buildings where solar panels could be used, but not on farm ground. First is solar panel companies go bankrupt or change hands. How could they hold true to their contract that they have told farmers? It doesn't really make sense. All right, so these solar panels are simply used to just put money into their pockets. And what's going to happen years from now when they have our own farm and our own families, we have to work countless hours to clean this up, and countless amounts of money. It takes valuable time that could be spent producing food and other materials necessary used in our nation. We believe that we should move to keep the panels out of the field. Thank you.
Hey. So the 25 minutes is over. We're going to go into just kind of an open session. If anybody has anything to say, I'm going to start with Teresa first. She's waited here, and then I'll check. I'm not sure if the commissioners have anything to say, but go ahead, Teresa.
I'm Teresa Bozell, and I live 500 North in North of Marion address 52. I would like to address the commissioners and thank you for allowing this session to be held tonight. There are some things, and I brought this up at meetings before, but I know there's a lot more people here. Can you all hear me?
Keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
And so one of the things that I would like you all to address is an environmental impact statement as well. I know they talked about the economic, but what about the effect that it's going to have on our environment? And we've talked about the recycling of these solar panels. So I've done a little bit of research, and this is coming directly off of a solar company's website located in Hawaii, and they are decades ahead of us when it comes to solar. So I'm not going to go through all of it. The one thing that they are saying toward the end to sum things up, avoid dumping used equipment into landfills, as this could contaminate the groundwater sources through leaching from various chemicals found within them. If you must dump them in a landfill, ensure that it is lined with plastic sheeting first in order to prevent any leakage into the soil below. This provides extra protection against any toxins leaking surface waters or underground aquifers, which can easily contaminate drinking supplies if left unchecked. So we're going to recycle these. 20% of them is recyclable. Is the statistic, and that is easily accessible anywhere you look on the internet. 20%. The rest of it is going to go into a landfill. The chemicals that are in that, which were mentioned earlier, lead. Does anybody know what those cause? I think we're all familiar with lead because we all grew up with lead paint. But cadmium causes cancer, kidney disease, liver disease, and a slew of other conditions that nobody here wants to have to deal with. And so then the question is, but they're sealed in a contained panel, correct? Well, the lining on them, the covering, over time, just from rainwater, leaches also. It rinses off of them and it leaches into the ground. And in high volumes of water, where it's going to leach into the groundwater eventually. So then 2 weeks ago, in Denton, Texas, did anybody see that video? If you don't, I've got it on my phone if anyone wants to see it. Thousands of acres of solar farms, industrial plants were hit by tornadoes and hail out in Denton, Texas, and it destroyed them. So now those solar panels who were once contained, they're now open. And if anybody in this room has been in a tornado, and we all know that Grant County is a tornado hub in the state. When we had the tornado in 2018, we had 3 inches of rain immediately following. Where's that water going to go? We had flooding that we have never seen in my lifetime, ever. It's going right into the creeks and the streams and the rivers. And how's that going to affect not only the drinking water, but what about the wildlife and in the endangered species? That has to be addressed. If we're going to put this type of industrial solar, everybody in this room knows that how many tornadoes we get a year. And with that is also accompanying hail. And we get hail even more frequent. We just had hail recently, damaging hail. And so when that happens and it leaches into the groundwater, how are we going to have water to drink? How are animals going to have water to drink? They're not, they're going to die. There's one more thing I would like to read with you, if you would be patient enough to hear me out. And this was from a Stephenville resident, George Franklin. And I'm just going to read what he wrote. It will take me about a minute and a half. I should start by telling you what bona fides I have for writing this. I am a retired aerospace engineer, a literal rocket scientist, if you will, way above our pay. I worked on the NX Peacekeeper space shuttle, Hubble, Rose Pebbles, along a whole list of others. He also did all of the design work for the structure of the Mark 1V propulsion module currently flying on at least 3 spacecraft that I know of. And I'm going to skip down past all of his accolades. And what he says is solar panels are at best 20% efficient. They convert almost 0% of UV light that hits them, none of the visible spectrum, and only some of the IR spectrum. At the same time as they are absorbing light, they are absorbing heat from the sun. This absorbed heat is radiated into the adjacent atmosphere. It should be obvious what happens to it. When the air is warmed, it rises. Even small differences in ground temperature of the land are capable of creating powerful forces of weather like thunderstorms and tornadoes, also accompany hail. Hail precedes tornadoes. These weather phenomena are initiated and reinforced by land features as they are blown downwind. It is all too obvious to me what will happen with the heat generated by an entire solar industrial farm. Solar farms will become thunderstorm and tornado incubators and magnets. Solar panels are dark and they emit energy to space above them when they are not irradiated. It is known as black body radiation. Satellites flying in space use this phenomenon to cool internal components. If they didn't do this, they would fry themselves. So solar farms not only produce more heat in the summer, than the original land that they were installed upon. But they also produce more cooling in the winter, thus exacerbating our weather extremes. So he's going to conclude and say there's nothing green about green energy except dirty money. Flowing into corrupt pockets. There is no such thing as green energy. The science doesn't exist. The technology doesn't exist. The engineering doesn't exist. We are being pushed to save the planet with solutions that are becoming far worse than the problems we're trying to solve. I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, sir.
Okay, my name's Kyle Schaefer from Van Buren. Kyle Schaefer from Van Buren. I've handled you guys 2 articles here, kind of referencing some things that I haven't heard at previous meetings. The first one would be the reduction of tillable acres in the United States. Since we like to cite USDA statistics, let's talk about the most alarming one to me. From an article by Farmland Partners of the USDA Ag Census, the United States lost 20.1 million acres from 2017 to 2022. That is larger than all of the farmland in this state, or the equivalent of losing 7.65 acres every minute since the 2017 study. That to me is one of the most alarming statistics in the agricultural sector, and our government is promoting things like industrial solar that lead to these reductions. To be clear, I'm not stating that industrial solar is what led to the reduction of 20 million acres, but it is a factor and a growing one at that. We as farmers are charged with feeding the world. It goes beyond making money. In the article, Dan Bass, a renowned economist and president of Ag Resource Company, is quoted saying, unless global grain production gets a big bump from yield increases, an additional 23 to 24 million acres of farmland will be needed in the next 5 years to meet food demand. To me, this poses not only a global food production issue, but a national security issue as well. Our local governments are the first ones to help protect our land and the people of this great nation. Our federal government is asleep behind the wheel on this issue, and we ask of you, our local representatives, to hear what we are saying. The second thing I would like to speak to on this is an article from Energy Generation, an article from Mackinac Center for Public Policy called Grading the Grid, Natural Gas and Nuclear Top List of Reliable and Affordable Energy Sources, March 21st, 2024. The study was created by Northwood University in partnership with Mackinac Center for Public Policy. In the study, they graded 8 energy sectors based on capacity, reliability, environmental and human impact, technology, innovation, and market feasibility. The grades are as follows: natural gas, A; nuclear power, B+; coal, B-; hydroelectric, B-; petroleum, C-; geothermal, D+; solar, F; and wind, F. From the article, many states, including Michigan, are moving toward a grid that primarily relies on wind and solar, but these are serious risks that should be considered. The report found that the hurried transition from affordable and reliable energy sources to weather-dependent and expensive renewable alternatives is threatening the reliability of the North American electric grid. Rushing this system-wide transition will create an increasingly unreliable grid, putting human lives and the economy at risk. In conclusion, industrial solar and other forms of clean renewable energy puts both our grid and our food supply in jeopardy, and a few in our local government is okay with that as long as it brings money into the county. I'm not willing to sit down and watch tillable acres be gobbled up by development in the name of tax dollars or economic development dollars. We are tenants and caretakers of this land, and it is our duty to cultivate it to feed the world, not cover it in useless solar energy generators.
Thank you. We have about 9 minutes left.
Commissioners, my name is Michael Duke, East Stratford Pike, Grant County. Our county's area-wide comprehensive plan is available on the county's website. It is dated 1997 and is sorely behind the times. This plan, any comprehensive plan, is the key guide for land and resource utilization and zoning in our community. Presently, the APC is working to develop an updated area-wide comprehensive plan. This planning process will span upwards of the next 12 to 16 months. There are 7 significant components of a comprehensive plan's 9 sections, including statement of policy of land use development, surveys and studies of current conditions and probable future growth, a history of the jurisdiction of our community, land use, areas for redevelopment and conservation, air, land, and water pollution, land utilization, including agriculture, forests, and other uses, and conservation of energy, water, soil, and agricultural and mineral resources. Just quickly, a couple of definitions. Conserve, as by Webster's Dictionary, to keep from being damaged, lost, or wasted. Conserve is the root of the word conservation. A conserving, protection from lost, waste, etc. The official care and protection of forests, rivers, etc., including land, waters, and wildlife resources. We want to preserve our community's heritage by securing that our agricultural lands and resources are conserved for future needs and economies and our national security. It goes that far. It is logical to ensure that Grant County's land use objectives identified in this new updated comprehensive plan by our citizenry and property owners are consistently applied to any current and/or future proposed development projects presented to the Area Planning Commission. Therefore, I ask the commissioners 6-month moratorium on industrial solar development be extended to such time in 2025 when the APC completes, approves, and implements the new area-wide comprehensive plan, the key guide for land and resource utilization in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Trina, you can go next after Cale. We'll make time.
Cale Grindle, Jonesboro. We are not here today because our commissioners are benevolent leaders. The community asked for this meeting for months to get answers from the commissioners that have made secrecy a policy. We are here today because a quickly growing group of concerned citizens found out something they weren't supposed to. Through an APRA request, we have found countless examples of secrecy and collusion from the commissioners Bardsley and Wright, APC Director Ryan Malott, and the previous APC President. Despite not being his job, APC Director Ryan Malott, at the direction of the commissioners, colluded with industrial solar companies. We have email proof of Ryan requesting and welcoming input on ordinance creation under the direction of companies such as GeneX and Apex Energy. On April 4th, 2022, Dalton Carr of Apex Energy requested Ryan and the commissioners to reject the ordinance draft that the APC created because, quote, "It should be clear to everyone that the authors and promoters of this ordinance have one goal: to discourage, disrupt, and ultimately exclude solar energy development from the county," end quote. What an astute observation. Given the community outrage, I'd say he was spot on. Ultimately, he got what he wanted. The commissioners rejected the APC's ordinance in its entirety and enacted their own, one that welcomes industrial solar with open arms and removes any protections for the citizens. Not once did the commissioners or Ryan ask for citizen input. On July 15th, 2021, Mark Bardsley sent an email to Ryan, the other 2 commissioners at the time, and others saying, quote, "Once we have a solid draft, we should invite all the companies that are inquiring about solar to a summit to get their input at the same time," end quote. On July 18th that year, email from Ryan to the commissioners showed Ryan thanking Commissioner Bardsley for his text saying, not to say anything, quote, "Not to say anything, I'm going to guess you guessed from my level of frustration listening to some of these comments," unquote. On April 9th, 2022, an email from Commissioner Attorney Kyle Persinger stating to Commissioner Bardsley, quote, "I would be very careful about any conversation or even emails amongst the commissioners in regards to solar farm topics, as you know they are watching for any slip up," end quote. The level of disdain our local government policymakers shows to the people that put them in the office is sickening. Ron, I will give you a pass on you for you since you weren't on here on the commission for this. But Mark, please tell the people of this audience just who it is that you work for. Who was it that voted for you? Was it solar companies or the citizens of Grant County? Who are you supposed to be representing? Steve, I'd ask you the same question, but nobody voted for you. You weren't chosen by the voters. We are stuck with you due to the poor decisions of the good old boy club in the local Republican Party. And to the people of the crowd, we have thousands of pages of documents proving that our commissioners in Ryman Lot are working for the best interests of industrial solar and not us. We are not even an afterthought to them. Steve will sit up there and tell us that he's a capitalist and for property rights, and Mark won't even give you the time of the day. These people work for solar and their own self-interests, not us. And remember that come May 7th. These two don't deserve to represent us because time and time again, they prove to us that they do not.
Thanks, Kale. Got about 2.5 minutes, Trina.
Talk fast. Thank you guys for holding this, for listening to folks that do want to invest in a thriving Grant County. Through a number of conversations over the last several years with residents, many of whom in this room, I can say confidently that we do have shared objectives in this discussion. We want efficient use of the land. We want to empower our landowners that have been entrusted to make decisions for their families and for their property for generations since we took it over from swampland, as someone said. We do want to foster American-made energy and protect our national security interests through that. There are considerable protections provided at the local level through your ordinance, but also at the state level and at the federal level. As we talk about this being early in development, it does feel like we've been working on it for a very long time, 4 years into this. We're still years from construction and operation. There are a number of layers that we go through, first with local permitting, but then through our state and federal requirements and various agencies, including Fish and Wildlife, DNR, EPA. Commissioners, you are charged with ensuring a thriving Grant County. How you choose to go about that is your decision. It is not for us as an interested business party. We want to do business in Grant County. We hope that you are open to doing business with us in this county. We hope that we can bring tremendous investment and tax revenue and additional benefits to the county. We also want to ensure reliability through this process. This does not just impact the 66,000 residents of Grant County. It impacts North Central Indiana and all of the state and the Midwest. And finally, solar, utility scale solar is a temporary use of our land. It is a placeholder. Both by lease and by design, the land is returned to its agricultural state when these projects are completed. It gives the land a chance to rest, much like the CRP programs that were talked about earlier this evening. Crops are able to be planted in and among the panels. There's an opportunity for grazing. Your ordinance requires that we plant pollinators. It requires that we manage for erosion and for the health of the soil. So I encourage you to be thoughtful through this process, understand the robust protections that are in place, not only in your ordinance, but at greater levels. I very much appreciate the opportunity to continue having these conversations.
Thank you, Trina. It is 7:30. It is, we are officially in recess. Thank you for coming.
About 15 minutes to get the sound system going. I think we deserve to speak. You gave the same amount of time, right?
Yeah, the crowd's here. You can keep talking. We're in recess. Each side had the same amount of time, and then we had an extra 20 minutes. So you folks you're welcome to talk to the people. We're in recess though.